everybody, this is Ellie. Welcome back to my channel, Color Mama 360. It's time for another video. So good morning, good night, good middle of the night, depending on when you're watching. Today I am doing a fun tag video about the story behind the page. This is a tag video that was created by Maria over at Colorful Mother of Three. If you haven't watched her video, please stop now, go and watch her video because the idea that she had behind this tag video was super fun, and I immediately knew I wanted to participate as soon as I saw her video. So yeah, if you haven't watched hers yet, go on over and watch her tag video. Today I'm going to be recreating it with some of my own colored pages. So the idea behind this tag video is to tell about the different stories behind different colored pages. Now, I believe that it was kind of pages, book, artist, could be interpreted for each question. I think the majority of what I have to show you today is pages, but there are a couple books slash artists sprinkled in throughout. So I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you want to grab a drink or a snack, I'm not sure how long we'll be here, but I like to talk and I like to tell stories, so we could be here for a minute. But yeah, grab a drink, snack, and settle in, and we're going to start with question number one. So question number one is, which page tells the biggest story? So I actually chose a book for this question, and the book that I chose is Matchstick Mouse, A Pumpkin Party Coloring Book. Now this is a book I am trying to finish. I'm just going to flip through the pages as I talk. So this is a book I'm trying to finish by hopefully October, because it is a storybook and I'd love to read it to my kids and have all the pages completed by October this year. And the reason that I chose this book for which book tells the biggest story is because I think that you can really see the different evolution of how I color in this book. So you have some really old pages, not really old, but older pages like back in 2024. And then you have some obviously recent pages. You have some pages that are base, that don't have pencil over the top yet. You have some pages where the mouse is brown. Well, more than gray, I guess. So you have some pages that are done with all pencil, which are these pages, like this one here. And I used to do the mouse a little bit more of this brownish color. And then you have kind of, this is a more recent page, so this one was done last year, I believe. And you can see the mouse is not the same as the other page, but there was definitely just some different things used on this page. You can see I had started using alcohol marker. Still have some uncolored pages, again pages that are base but not colored with pencil. Another old page. So the reason I chose this book is just because I really feel like this book shows the biggest picture of my coloring overall, and how much I've grown in how I color and what I color and just the way that I choose to tackle pages. So again, to look at some examples. So this is a more recent page. More recent pages, you can see that I've done the mouse the same. So this page and this page, I've done the mouse the same, but then this page is another all colored pencil page before I had alcohol markers, and I did more of the brown mouse. So will it bother me that the mouse doesn't match throughout the book? Normally something like that would bother me, but I think when I look at this book like I am now and just kind of looking at the evolution and how far I've come with my coloring journey, it doesn't bother me that much. So I don't know, maybe, his fur changes throughout the season. I highly doubt my kids are going to notice, that's for sure. So, yeah, so this is the book that I picked for the book that tells the biggest story. And the reason it tells the biggest story is just because it kind of shows the different phases of my coloring. Times when I just used colored pencil, times when I've used colored pencil and alcohol marker, but still didn't really get quite where I wanted to with the color of the mouse. I still have uncolored pages, pages that are based. So this is the book that I chose for the book that tells the biggest story, Matchstick Mouse, A Pumpkin Party Coloring Book by Morgan O'Brien. The next question is, which page reminds you of a special memory? So I chose a page from Home for the Holidays by Teresa Goodrich, and the page that I chose is this one. And let me zoom you guys out just a little bit. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit better. But the reason that I chose this page is, well, I don't actually like this page. um, I used Tombow dual brush pens, and it was right when I was starting to like get interested in basing, and I didn't really understand the way that I wanted to use basing yet. But the actual story behind this page is next to it. So I believe I colored this page last year in July for Christmas in July, and I was pregnant with my second baby, but I had my toddler at the time. And this was some of the first months. So, back in kind of June, July, August, when she would sit down and color next to me. And one day I was coloring this page, and I think she had her own page, like a printed out coloring page that she was coloring on, and then just like slowly started coloring on this opposite page. And once I realized that she was doing it, I didn't say anything. It's a blank page. They're single-sided pages. And I'm so glad that I didn't say anything, because when I look back at this page, even though I don't like the page that I colored, it just reminds me of that memory of sitting down and coloring next to her. And those were just some really fun moments that we had last summer before we welcomed her little sister into the world. So I always think of that when I see this page, which makes me happy since I don't love the way that my coloring turned out on this page. Um, so yeah, that is a page that reminds me of a special memory, and that's from Home for the Holidays by Teresa Goodrich. Okay, the next question is, which page taught you the most? Oh, just kidding. The next question is, which page changed your coloring? And the page that I picked is from the Coloring Heaven Halloween special, and it's kind of two pages. So the first page that I actually colored was this one. And the reason that this changed my coloring was I actually, for the first time, felt really proud with a background. And I feel like ever since doing this background, I have been willing to go more out of the box with backgrounds, try new things, and they don't feel quite as intimidating as they used to. And it was completely experimental. So I used washi tape to create the border. This was probably one, if not the first page that I did that. And I can see my border is a little uneven, but that's okay. And then I did soft pastel in the background. And then I used a stencil and went over the stencil with distress ink. And that's how I created this effect. So yeah, like it's a little bit messy and chaotic, and that's what I wanted for this page. So that was the vibe that I was going for. But it also, if you take away the background, the page feels very plain, and things like that used to really intimidate me. But I feel like ever since I've done this page, I've been more willing to go out of the box. And then I did it again on this page here. So again, I did another washi tape border and did the soft pastels with the distress ink over the top. And that just kind of reaffirmed, because I kind of did these pages, I don't know if they were back to back, but obviously in the same season. And it just kind of even furthered my confidence with backgrounds, because I had two that I felt like turned out really well. And yeah, I would say ever since this, I feel like I've just approached backgrounds um, with a lot less anxiety than I used to. So that is the page that has changed my coloring. And that is from the Coloring Heaven Halloween special from last year, I believe. Okay, the next question is, which page taught you the most? So that is the one that I have from Symphony of Cute Animals by Kanoko Igusa, and it is this cat page. And I knew some of the colors for this page. I obviously knew I was going to do red apples, and there was going to be some green and stuff like that. But what I really learned a lot from this page was the highlights and shadows. And I used a reference photo to kind of know where to put those in at, because I still didn't quite understand, still don't sometimes, like actual light sources. So I used a reference photo to kind of get an idea of where the highlights would be on the apples. And not only did I learn a lot about highlights and shadows on this page, but I also learned about using my Albrecht Dürer. So I used them wet and dry on this page, and it taught me that I don't really love using them dry. I definitely prefer them for basing, and now that I have polychromos, which I didn't at the time, but now that I have polychromos, I'm definitely more likely to go to those over the top than I am to use the Albrecht Dürers dry. And then another thing that I feel like really that I learned from this page is that you don't always have to do a like flicking fur effect in order to get a good result for animals. I really actually like the way that these cats turned out. I colored them after my cats. I have one black cat and one black and white cat. And yeah, I really like the way that they turned out. And all I did was use Albrecht Dürers. You can see I kind of tried to do a couple of the little flicking motions with some white pen and things like that. It looks okay, but I'm glad I didn't try to do anything more with it because I actually just like the way that it turned out. So I learned a lot from this page because I learned, like I said, the highlights and shadows, that you don't always need to do the fur, that I don't really like the Albrecht Dürers dry, and I got to practice more trying to create white objects, which, I mean, they look okay, but they're not great. So I am going to be keeping this book out because the next question is which page took the longest to finish? And it looks like my tab fell out, but this is definitely one of the pages that took me the longest to finish. And it's hard to kind of gauge when a page takes me a long time, because if it is like a double page spread like this, I will work on it throughout an entire period of time. Sometimes that's a month. I think this one was a month. Sometimes that's 2 months. Sometimes it's even 3 months. So it's not like I'm continuously working on it. But this one definitely took, I remember it taking me a long time. And the reason that it took me so long is that almost every single black line on this page is covered. There are a couple that aren't, like on these graham crackers, but almost every single black line, all of the trees, all of the candies, um, even these scarves, they had black lines that I covered, and that is what took the longest out of anything else on this page. So the background is soft pastel and pencil, I think is what I used to do the Aurora Borealis, and then everything is based with Albrecht Dürers over the top with Prismacolors. Um, and then, like I said, all of the black lines are covered, at least 90, probably 98% of them are covered. Um, yeah, I did the snow. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out, but it definitely was a labor of love and it took a long time. So that is one of the pages that took me the longest. And then another page that took me a long time is one that I recently completed, and it's another double page spread from Spirit Animals by Hannah Carlzon, and it is this one. And this is another example of a page that I worked on over a period of several months. So I did the background 1 month. I based everything with Albrecht Dürers, and then I came and did Prismacolor over the top for most of the elements. And then I turned this portrait into an avatar was what I was going for. So yeah, I just chipped away at this one. So it did take me a long time. I just kind of did color by color. That's when it comes to these limited color palettes, which I'm really enjoying, and I'll talk more about in another question, I believe. I really enjoy just going color by color. So I'll do all the red and then maybe take a break for a little while, do all the orange, maybe take a break for a while, all the green. So this one took me several months, but um, yeah, that's just because I was kind of dipping in and out of it. So that is Spirit Animals by Hannah Carlzon. Okay, let's see. The next question is which page surprised you the most? And it's another pretty recent one from Hidden Earth by Rita Berman. And it is this double page flamingo spread. I don't think it necessarily has to be a double page spread, but I colored it as one. And the reason that it surprised me was because I liked this page. Obviously, I colored it. And I knew that the flamingos would be pink, but when I started coming up with this color palette and I started to get this more pinkish purplish effect, I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. And then I just started doing element by element, and I absolutely love the end result. I think this is one of the most surprising and successful color palettes I've ever chosen for a page. And so that's why it surprised me, is because looking at the color palette not on the page, I would not have thought, oh, this is going to be such a wonderful page. It's going to turn out great. I'm going to love the colors. And it really did. I'm really, really happy with the way that it turned out, especially this blue. I think that I just love it. It's perfect. I love the tealish blue color that um, I brought into this page. The green, so it really surprised me to see this page once it all came together, because I think, during I based with Tombow dual brush pens, and so, it kind of had like an ugly phase, and I just wasn't sure how all the colors were going to come out once they were on the page together, but it surprised me and I love it. It's one of my favorite pages of this year so far. So, okay, let's see here. The next question is um which page almost ended up in the trash? Now, I have vowed not to rip pages out of my coloring books anymore. Um, but this one came the closest. So this is a page from Year of Witches by Yusiku, and unfortunately it is a whip. I still have not finished it to this day. It's this page, and yeah, I just I absolutely hate the way that it's turning out. I've shared this page a couple different times on the channel, but the background was looking good until I started doing the foreground. I think that the brown would look better black. I know that puts a lot of black on the page though, so I think that's kind of why I tried to go for the brown. So I wonder if coming in and changing the brown to black would help. I'm not sure what I was doing down here. I think I was just getting lazy and didn't want to color these with colored pencils, so I started doing gel pen, and it does not look good. The bottles, I wish I would have done them to be more see-through. It's probably a little late for that, but I don't know. There may be some things that I could do there. But yeah, I mean, I just have not come back to this page, and this is the closest I've gotten in a while to ripping a page out of a book, because I just don't like to look at it. So that is Year of Witches by Yusiku. Which page makes you smile every time you look at it? And it would have to be this beautiful page that was created by Mariola Budek. I colored this with watercolor pencils. And yeah, I mean, for those of you that watch my channel, you know that I'm a mom, and that is a big, big, big part of my life, especially right now while my kids are super young. And yeah, that is the majority of what I do besides work and color. And I just, every time I see this page, it just kind of brings back those sweet memories of the babies and going through that phase in life. So I really love this page. I will be recoloring this page at some point, and I actually have a whole video on pages that I would like to recolor, but that's also one of the questions in the tag video today. But this will definitely be included in that video, because I would like to recolor this probably pretty soon. So, not because I don't like the way that I colored it, but just I have kind of a vision, and I just want to recolor it. So, all right, let's see here. Which page represents who you are today? So this one was a little bit of a tricky question, and I thought about it a lot. And I came to a page in Lulu's House of Wonder, which was marked, but looks like the tab fell out. And it was this page. And the reason that I chose this page and why it represents who I am today is because I really kept this pretty coloring focused. And I feel like this represents my coloring today, because I'm in this space right now where I'm really thriving and creating pages I love with um, simpler, limited color palettes. But I'm kind of in this space where sometimes they look a little too matchy matchy, sometimes they just don't turn out right. And so I'm trying to balance getting enough of the other colors in so that it's not too matchy, especially um, depending on the image, while also keeping the color palette limited so it's not just a bunch of colors. And I think that this page is somewhere in the middle of that. I think I executed the color palette really well, but I do think it feels a little too matchy matchy for this page. And so that's why I picked this page, because I feel like it represents my coloring right now. I'm kind of in that in between. I've figured out that I do really well with limited color palettes, but I haven't quite figured out how to not make them look too of that sort of matching feeling, or not enough variety when it comes to what's actually drawn on the page. So, but I still love this page. That's for sure. I really like the colors that I chose, and it reminded me of, like, I don't know why, but it was just giving me like Italy vibes. Um, so yeah, I love the page, but I think that that is a good representation of who I am today, at least as a colorist. Okay, which page reminds you of another person? And I've shared this one before on the channel, but it's from Whimsical Gnomes by Teresa Goodridge. And I was actually, I don't think was I coloring this page? I just remember that I colored this page around the time that my grandfather passed away last year. And so it always reminds me of him. I can't remember if I was like actively coloring it when he passed away, but I do remember sitting in my grandma's house while my mom was kind of just going through things and helping her clean things out after he passed. And I was coloring this at the table with my toddler. So, well, she was coloring something else. I was coloring this page. So I always think of that when I see this page, and it's a cute page. I don't the coloring itself, I think, is really cute. I like the way that I did the watermelons. It's probably my favorite part of the page is the watermelons, but yeah. I mean, it doesn't really have anything to do with him himself. um it just simply reminds me of him because that was around the time that I was coloring it. So that is the page from Whimsical Gnomes by Teresa Goodridge. And then let's see. Okay. Which page changed the way you look at coloring? So that is a page from Rooms of Wonder, and unfortunately, keep your books, guys. Let's just leave it at that. The page in this copy is not colored, but I believe I still have a picture of it colored from my old copy, and I will put that up on the screen. But the reason that this page changed the way I look at coloring is because when I colored this page in that other book, that was the first time that I thought to myself, wow, this page actually turned out really good. Maybe I could be like one of those people that make YouTube videos about coloring. So that was the first time that I actually thought, maybe I'm good enough, which you do not by any means have to ever feel that way. This is a totally a me thing, but I did feel like there was some sort of standard or something like that, and it wasn't until I completed this page that I actually thought like, hey, you know what? Maybe maybe I could do something like that. It still took me several months before I actually ever did start, but it definitely changed the way I looked at coloring, and my coloring specifically, because I think it was the first time I looked at a completed page and I went, wow, that's really good. So I will try to remember to put an overlay of the colored version up on the screen. And yeah, let that be a reminder that even if you want to get a second copy of the book, just keep the first. It's okay if it has old coloring in it or whatever, but keep your books, guys. All right. The next question is, which page became more meaningful after you finished it? And this is another one where I've kind of shared the story behind it on the channel before. It's from Halloween by Hannah Carlzon. And it is this cat page. And again, if you've heard the story before, you know that I'm really not happy with the way that this page turned out at all. But this was the last page that I finished before I gave birth last year. And I just remember I was really over it. At the end of pregnancy, you're just tired, you're ready for the baby to come, and we were just having a really super emotional time in my house between me and my toddler, and yeah. And so I remember I had been working on this page for a couple weeks. It's based with Albert Durr's, and it might even be, I think it's Albert Durr's Dry over the top too. That looks like Albert Durr Dry. Um, and I finally was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna, I want to finish it. I don't want to leave it as a whip. And sure enough, I finished it. And I forgot to, I was going to look up the dates, but I was having a hard time finding my old planner from last year. I think maybe my daughter took it, but I believe it was the next day or the day after when I ended up going into labor. So this was the last page that I finished before I had my second baby last year. So yeah, whenever I see this page, I do think of it as, it became much more meaningful after it was finished. I still don't like the way that the coloring turned out, but it will always mean something to me because it was the last page that I finished before that big event in my life. So that is from Halloween by Hannah Carlson. The next question is, which page has a story you have never shared before? Okay, so I'm not actually sure if I've shared this before, so if I have, my apologies, but this is a slightly embarrassing story, slightly funny, I guess, now looking back at it. But I was watching a video from Jess over at Coloring Bumblebee. I can't remember if it was like her plans video or maybe her. You know what? I feel like it was maybe her fall slash autumn randomizer video, and she was picking out pages and saying, if you want to buddy in any of these, let me know. And she had picked out this page, and I really, really, really wanted to buddy with Jess, but I was nervous to reach out to her. And so when she kind of opened the opportunity of like, hey, like, well, here's some pages that I'm doing. I jumped on that opportunity and I was like, yes, I have that book. That works out perfect. I like that page. It will be great. And we could plan it for November so that it was a little bit after when I had my baby and I would have been back to coloring and things like that. So I reached out to Jess and got it all set up for November. And then I went to look at the page in the book and I realized that I did not have Autumn Charm. I had Autumn Harvest by Teresa Goodridge. And so I ended up getting on Amazon and like buying the book right away. So I bought this book. This could also go for all the prompts that I feel like come up of like a page you or a book you bought for one page. Technically, I bought this book just for this page because I wanted to buddy with Jess so bad that I was not going to let not owning the book stop me. So, yeah. Slightly embarrassing a little bit, but I just really admire Jess and I loved her channel and I so badly wanted to buddy color with her, but I didn't know like how to reach out to her for a buddy color. And so once that door was opened, I just jumped on it without realizing that I actually did not have the same book. So I wasn't going to let that deter me. I bought the book and we did this page as a buddy color. And I like the way that it turned out. And this was probably one of the first pages too that I used alcohol markers because this was around the time that I got the alcohol markers. So yes, so that is a story. I don't think I've ever told it before, but maybe I have. And that is from Autumn Charm by Teresa Goodridge. Okay, we have 3 more questions left, I believe, or 4 more. So, which unfinished page has the biggest story? I don't know that this necessarily has the biggest story, but it's the only one that I could kind of think of that might fit this question. And it is from Circle of Life by Malcolm and Hatspanagattu. And it is this page. And I absolutely love the way that this page is turning out. I didn't feel while I was coloring it any certain way, like, oh, this is boring or repetitive. I like repetitive elements a lot of times, but this was actually the page that put me into a coloring slump. So right before I started my channel, I went through a pretty long period, and I think that that was also combined with finding out that I was having another baby and feeling sick and things like that. But this was the page I was working on when I just stopped coloring for several months, and so Yeah, I just haven't come back to it yet. Part of the reason I haven't come back to it is because I didn't write down the color combo and I still need to do these flowers. And I don't know, something has just deterred me from trying to figure out what that color combo is. But this is a project book and this would be a good page to come finish up, especially if there's a month where maybe I'm feeling like, I don't have as much time or something like that since some of it's already done. And like I said, I love the colors so far. I love the way that it's turning out. I just haven't come back to it. And I don't think it's necessarily anything that has to do with the page itself that put me into a coloring slump, but I feel like it now has a reputation. and yeah, so it's just been hard to come back to it. So I don't know. That's probably the only one that I could really think of as far as the unfinished page that has the biggest story. Okay, which page would you love to recolor? Like I said, on Thursday, come back to the channel because I have a whole video on this of all the pages that I would like to recolor and how I would do them differently. Um, but for this video, this is the page that I thought of, and I finished this recently in June, I think. And it's from Summer Nights by Hannah Carlson. I don't think I mentioned that. And I like the way that this page turned out. I would just do it differently. Um, I think I would go for more natural colors of flowers. I feel like I kind of went out there for this page, which again, I like the way that it turned out, but I think I would go for probably some more natural colored flowers. I don't know that this pink is really something that you normally see. Maybe this one. Um, but yeah, and I think the background I would probably do differently as well. I believe the background is soft pastel. I don't think I would do this blue color. I think I would do more yellow flowers, probably yellow and blue flowers, and then maybe more of a light blue background, like a daytime sky sort of color. So that is a page I would like to recolor. Again, Thursday, I will be showing you, I think, 10 pages that I'd like to recolor if you want to hear more about those. Okay, which page deserves more love? So I actually picked an artist for this one. And the artist I chose is Ari or Erie, however you want to say it. And I own 6 of her books, and I've only ever colored 2 Erie pages, ever. And one of them is in this book, and I did it recently. It's this one. This was a buddy color with my friend Steph over at Steph Colors, and I really, really like the way that this one turned out, and I'm hoping that that's going to encourage me to continue coloring more in her books. And I used Albert Durs for a base and polychromos over the top for this page, and both worked. I mean, I think both worked well. I did not activate, but I did blend the polychromos with an alcohol marker versus, I don't know, a different way. um, and yeah, I like the way that this one turned out. And so I think that all of my Erie books deserve more love. I obviously really like the artwork because I keep buying them and I enjoyed coloring this page. I think I just find them a little intimidating. And so the more pages I do, the more comfortable I think I'll become with the art style and how I choose to color it. So that this book specifically is The Magical Land of Laramia, but Ari is a artist that I think deserves more love from me. Okay, and the very last question in today's tag is, what story do you hope your next page will tell? And I thought of this page from Leon's Journey. This is a project book on my channel, and this is the page, I have planned for August. And this is a big animal for me to color. And so I'm really hoping that when this page is finished, it will tell this a story of kind of my evolution in fur. I'm really hoping that I can compare this page and maybe like the character pages, which I don't feel like the fur turned out great on. Where are they? And just see some evolution. Um, Again, same with this one. It would be nice to, just see some evolution in the way that I try to do feathers or fur. So I'm really hoping to watch some more tutorials and really hone in on trying to figure out what technique works best for me. And because he's a large portion of the image, I'm hoping that you'll be able to see some improvement next month. So that is the page that, or what story do I hope my next page will tell? That is from Leon's Journey by Kanoko Igusa. All right, guys, well, that is everything for this video. Again, thank you so much to Maria for creating this tag. It was so fun to tell you guys some of the stories behind my pages. I'm going to tag a few friends, no pressure. And of course, just because you're not directly tagged, I still think that you should do the video. So please, anybody who wants to participate in this tag, and make sure to tag Maria over at Colorful Mother of Three. I'm tagging my friend Steph Colors, Deeply Immersed Geek, and Cozy Night Realms. I also had Lauren Reed Color on here, but I think she already did this video, and I'm pretty sure I watched it, unless I'm mixing that up with somebody else. So Lauren, if you haven't done it, you're tagged too. Otherwise, I'd love to see anybody who wants to participate, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody. Happy coloring.